Have you ever wondered what it would be like to step into a world where the mountains breathe, the rivers speak, and the stars themselves watch silently from above? A world where every rock, every shadow, every whisper of wind carries memory, warning, and wisdom. Tonight, we are about to traverse that world, not as mere observers, but as witnesses to stories that have shaped civilizations for centuries, stories that linger in the silent echoes of the land. From the frozen plains of the north, where the Blackfoot and Lakota once tracked the great buffalo beneath endless skies, to the sun-scorched temples of the south, where the Incas looked to the Milky Way for guidance and survival, these myths are far more than legends. They are the pulse of life itself. We begin in a land vast and unbroken, where over 500 distinct tribes of North America spoke to the spirits of earth, sky, and water through song and story. Unlike the structured pantheons of Europe, these people did not gather their gods into hierarchies or place them on thrones of gold. Instead, their deities, spirits, and forces were everywhere, within the wind, the rivers, and even the soil beneath their feet. The Blackfoot spoke of Napi, the trickster creator, shaping land and life from the mud of the rivers, teaching humans to survive not through power, but through knowledge gained from mistakes. The Lakota understood Wakantanka, the great mystery, an omnipresent sacred force present in all beings, whose act of creation was self-sacrifice, a lesson in humility and responsibility. The Crow believed in backspin, sacred power granted by spirits, obtainable only through vision quests and rituals of endurance. And the Navajo told of emergence through worlds, of monsters born from imbalance, and of the heroes who restored harmony, guided by the principle of beauty, balance, and order. To know these myths is to understand a philosophy of living deeply intertwined with nature. The seasons, the hunt, the rise and fall of rivers, the patterns of stars, they are not simply observations, they are instructions. They remind us that humans are not rulers, but participants in a delicate balance. These stories are preserved not in scrolls or books, but in memory, spoken aloud in winter nights beside crackling fires, passed down by elders whose voices echo across generations. Every tale is both instruction and warning. Every character, trickster, monster, or hero is a mirror, reflecting human strengths, weaknesses, and the consequences of our actions. Traveling south, we enter the lands of Central America, where civilizations such as the Aztec and the Maya built temples to honor the cycles of creation, destruction, and rebirth. The Aztecs spoke of the 5 suns, each world destroyed by catastrophe until the present age, sustained only by the sacrifice of the gods. Their pantheon was vast and intricate. Tlaloc, god of thunder; Xalquihutlicue, goddess of water; Xiuhtecutli, god of fire and time; and countless others who governed death, fertility, and the elements. Their myths remind us that life is fragile and must be maintained through ritual, respect, and awareness. The Maya, meanwhile, told of the hero twins who defeated monsters, gods of disease and death itself, restoring balance to the world. Creation, for them, was a magical union with the earth, a careful weaving of the celestial and the human. Every star, every river, every creature bore meaning, and understanding these myths is to see the cosmos itself as alive, deliberate, and sacred. And farther still, high in the Andes, the Inca looked to the heavens and saw the Milky Way as a river of life, guiding their agriculture, their rituals, and their survival. Manco Capac, the founder of Cusco, emerged from either the depths of Lake Titicaca or from the very essence of the creator god Viracocha, depending on the telling, yet in every story, his leadership is intertwined with mystery and divine guidance. The Incas revered Apu, spirits of the mountains; Cataquil, god of thunder; Con, god of wind and rain; and Supe, god of death. They measured existence through cycles, through the 3 levels of Pachas, ensuring that life, death, and the heavens remained in balance. Even animals, dogs, bears, foxes, participated in this sacred order, embodying lessons, guidance, and spiritual presence. Why is it important to know these myths today? Because they are more than entertainment, they are living philosophy. They teach us to observe, to respect, and to understand the delicate balance that governs the natural world and our place within it. They remind us that life is sacred, that every action has consequence, and that the unseen forces of the world are always present, always watching. To know these stories is to walk quietly among the echoes of history, to hear the whispers of ancestors, and to see the world not as empty, but as alive with power, mystery, and meaning. So, wherever you are listening, whether the forests stretch silently beyond your window, the city hums beneath you, or the mountains rise in shadow, let yourself be carried into these worlds. Let the stories of Blackfoot, Lakota, Crow, Navajo, Aztec, Maya, and Inca awaken your imagination and curiosity. If you wish to walk further along these shadowed paths of myth and memory, subscribe and join us in uncovering the hidden truths, the monsters, the heroes, and the sacred forces that still linger, waiting in the whispering winds of the Americas. Tonight, we will reveal the myths that shaped life, survival, and belief across continents. We will journey through creation, chaos, heroism, and sacrifice. And through it all, we will learn that the world has always been alive, always speaking, and always watching. Blackfoot mythology, a land where the horizon stretches like a held breath, and the sky presses so close it feels alive. This is the world of the Siksikaitsitapi, the Blackfoot people shaped by wind, buffalo, and firelight. Alberta, Montana, the Great Plains, a place where survival demanded movement, memory, and reverence. Here, mythology was never distant. It walked beside the people. The Blackfoot lived as nomads, following the great buffalo herds, the beating heart of their world. Every journey, every hunt, every season unfolded beneath a sky that was not empty, but crowded with watching beings. To live here was to understand that the land was not owned. It was encountered. And the stories that rose from this place were born not from conquest, but from coexistence. At the center of Blackfoot mythology stands Napi. He is called many names: Old Man, Old Woman, Napi. Creator, Wanderer, Trickster, Teacher, Fool. Napi cannot be contained within a single shape or role, for he is contradiction made sacred. He is the one who shaped the land, carved rivers into the earth, raised mountains from nothing, and gave form to animals and humans alike. And yet, he is also the one who fails. Napi makes mistakes. He is careless, curious, impulsive. He forgets, he stumbles, he suffers the consequences of his own action, and it is precisely through these failures that he teaches. When Napi errs, the people learn how not to live. His weakness becomes instruction, his suffering becomes memory. In this way, creation is not perfect, it is human. There is an old story whispered in winter when the ground is frozen and the spirits draw near. In it, Napi floats upon endless water before land had shape or name. He calls to the animals, asking for help. One by one they dive beneath the surface, searching the depths for something solid. Many fail. Some never return. At last a turtle rises, mud clutched in its mouth. From this small, fragile offering, Napi forms the earth. The world, in this telling, is not born of power, but of cooperation. It begins not with command, but with sacrifice. Above this newly formed land stretch the sky beings, eternal and precise. Blackfoot cosmology is written in stars, measured in light and shadow. The heavens are not decoration, they are law. Natosi, the sun, watches from above, giver of warmth, keeper of time, witness to all things. Without Natosi, life withers. Seasons lose meaning. Ceremonies fall silent. Beside him moves Kokomiki Som, the moon, pale and patient, regulating cycles both human and cosmic. The moon governs rhythms of women, of tides, of growth and decay. Nothing escapes its quiet pull. And higher still, fixed in the darkness, are the seven brothers, the Pleiades, ancestral beings whose presence marks sacred time. They are not distant stars, they are elders, reminders of origin and obligation. Their movements guide seasonal ceremonies, hunting cycles, and the social order of the people below. When the stars shift, the world must listen. These sky beings do not rule as kings. They do not demand worship. They observe, they influence, they maintain balance. Their power lies not in domination, but in constancy. And the stories of all these beings, Napi, the sun, the moon, the stars, are not told freely. Among the Blackfoot, sacred myths belong to the community, not the individual. They are not commodities, they are responsibilities. Only elders may speak them, and only in winter, when the land rests and the boundary between worlds grows thin. To tell a story at the wrong time is to invite disorder. To speak without permission is to break an ancient trust. These myths are not owned. They are protected. They are carried like embers, passed carefully from one generation to the next, never allowed to burn uncontrolled, never allowed to die. In them is contained not only belief, but survival itself, how to hunt, how to live, how to remain human in a world that does not forgive arrogance. And so the Blackfoot stories endure, not carved into stone, not written in ink, but etched into memory, sky, and soil. They remind us that creation is flawed, that wisdom is born from error, and that the world itself was shaped by many hands, human, animal, and unseen. Creek, mythology, breath, clay, and emergence. I speak now of a land where water once ruled everything. Before forests rose thick and green, before rivers learnt their paths, before names were spoken aloud, there was only endless flood, dark, unmoving, and heavy with possibility. This is the beginning remembered by the Muscogee, the Creek people, whose homeland lay in the southeastern reaches of North America, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, before exile carried many westward into what is now Oklahoma. Their mythology does not thunder with violence or conquest. It emerges quietly, like breath drawn for the first time. In the beginning, the world was submerged. No plains, no forests, no villages, only water stretching in all directions, cold and ancient. And rising from this vast, drowning silence stood a single mound of earth, Nunchaha. The first hill. The only place where existence could gather its strength. Upon this hill lived Siksikaitsitapi, the master of breath. He was not a king seated on a throne, nor a god issuing commands from the sky. He was solar, luminous, yet restrained. His power did not strike, it animated. He did not shape the world through force, but through breath. And breath, in Creek belief, is not merely air. It is life itself. Spirit, movement, presence. From the clay of Nunchaha, Siksikaitsitapi formed human beings. But clay alone was not enough. Earth without breath is only matter. It is silent. It is waiting. And so Siksikaitsitapi breathed into these forms, and with that breath, they awakened. Life did not begin with domination. It began with inhalation. This moment echoes ancient stories from distant lands, Mesopotamian myths, where humans are shaped from clay by divine hands. Yet where those myths emphasize authority and command, the Creek tells something quieter and far more intimate. Life is not granted as obedience. It is shared as breath. To breathe is to participate in creation. For the Creek, existence is sustained through a delicate balance between earth, breath, and sun. None may exist alone. Earth provides substance. The sun provides energy and time. Breath binds them together, unseen yet essential. This triad governs not only life, but morality, health, and order. Humans, in this worldview, are not rulers placed above nature. They are caretakers, temporary stewards moving through a living system that existed long before them and will remain long after they are gone. The land is not property, it is kin. The sun is not distant fire, it is witness. Breath is not accidental, it is sacred exchange. Fire, too, holds a central place. Fire transforms, fire purifies. Fire connects the earthly to the solar. When flames rise, they mirror the sun itself, a reminder that all energy is borrowed, never owned. Creek mythology does not frame the world as a battlefield between good and evil, nor as a stage for heroic domination. Instead, it presents a fragile equilibrium, one that can be nurtured or broken. Disorder does not arrive as punishment from above, but as consequence. When breath is disrespected, when the earth is wounded, when balance is ignored, life falters. These stories were not written. They were spoken softly, carried through generations by memory alone. Each retelling was an act of renewal. To speak the creation story was not to recall a distant past. It was to reaffirm the conditions of survival. Lakota. Mythology, the great mystery and cosmic sacrifice. Among the vast plains where the wind moves like invisible rivers, where bison once roamed in uncountable herds and the horizon stretches like a living thing, the Lakota people have long held a vision of the world that is both immense and intimate. It is a vision rooted not in dominion, but in presence, not in control, but in respect. Central to this understanding is Wakantanka, the great mystery. Wakantanka is not a god in the human sense. It bears no face, no crown, no voice that can be summoned. It is not bound by time or space, nor is it a being that commands obedience. Instead, it is the sacred force that flows through everything. The stone beneath your feet, the wind that bends the grass, the sun that warms your shoulders, the bison that stirs the plains at dusk. It exists in all beings and all elements, visible and unseen, a cosmic consciousness that enfolds the world in a quiet, immutable embrace. In the presence of Wakantanka, creation is not a matter of power or conquest. It is an act of careful participation. The creation story begins with Inyan the rock. Inyan is not merely material, but spirit and principle intertwined. From him comes the earth, the maka, though not without sacrifice. Inyan gives of himself, releasing pieces of his power to form the land, to shape the rivers, to grant substance to what would become living beings. In doing so, he diminishes his own strength, an act of cosmic self-sacrifice that echoes through every stone, every hill, every river that cuts the plains. Darkness, Han, follows, bringing both mystery and the possibility of restraint, and then the sky, completing a triad that governs the interplay of light, shadow, and life itself. Creation is thus not a command from above, but a weaving together of forces, a careful balance maintained at the cost of the creator's own essence. Within this created world move figures both enigmatic and instructive. Iktomi, the spider trickster, is perhaps the most well-known. Small, cunning, and chaotic, he teaches not through clarity, but through the entanglement of error and consequence. He spins webs of stories that trap those who act without thought, yet within these webs lie lessons, warnings about pride, greed, and carelessness. To encounter Iktomi is to recognize that knowledge often arrives disguised as confusion, that wisdom is earned through patience and misstep. Among the Lakota's more formidable figures is Unshegula, the serpent monster. Her very presence is dangerous. To cross her path is to risk death. Embedded in her being is a crystal, a heart that contains great power, sought by those who dare, but granted only to those who understand the responsibility such power entails. Unsegula represents not mere fear, but the allure of potency beyond oneself, the temptation and peril inherent in desire. There is also Ea, the devourer, whose hunger manifests in winter and famine. He is the reminder of natural cycles, of scarcity, of mortality. He is not evil in the human sense, but necessary, a force of reckoning that teaches respect for life, for resources, and for the fragile balance that sustains the world. Together, these figures form a pantheon not of rulers, but of teachers, each embodying lessons about survival, morality, and the sacredness of existence. The afterlife in Lakota belief reflects this same principle of balance. When a person dies, the soul does not vanish or enter punishment. Instead, it travels to the happy hunting grounds, a realm echoing the physical world but perfected. Animals are easier to hunt, food is abundant, and the trials of mortality are absent. Life continues, but harmoniously, as if nature itself rewards those who have lived in respect and balance. Death is not a rupture, but a transition, a continuation of the ethical and spiritual order of the world. Throughout Lakota mythology, one encounters a recurring motif, that power, knowledge, and life itself are never free. They are gained through sacrifice, through error, through attentiveness to the unseen forces that bind the world together. To live is to participate in a web of responsibility that extends outward to all beings, human, animal, stone, and sky. Nothing exists solely for human benefit, and no being is so small as to lack significance. These teachings were carried through generations in story, song, and ceremony, always with care. They were spoken by elders beside fires in winter, when the nights were long and the spirits closest. To recount the myths was not a pastime, but a sacred duty. Memory was survival, stories were law. The creation, the tricksters, the monsters, the great mysteries, they are not relics, they are enduring presences, reminding all who listen that life is a balance, fragile and sacred, and that the world itself demands humility, attention, and respect. The Lakota mythology leaves no final answer, no simple moral to be concluded. It lingers in stone and sky, in the wind that bends the grass, in the river's patient course. It whispers that all life is connected, that power must be tempered by wisdom, and that every act carries consequence. And in that whisper, the great mystery endures, unseen yet unbroken, eternal as the plains themselves. Navajo. Mythology, worlds, monsters, and harmony. Long before humans walked the mesas, before the rivers knew their courses and the wind learned to carry whispers, there existed a vast emptiness, a place where chaos was all. This was the first world, dark and formless, where nothing had name and nothing had purpose. From that primordial void, the Navajo, the Diné, tell a story not of simple creation, but of emergence, a slow, deliberate unfolding of worlds, each one a step toward awareness, toward ethical existence. From chaos arose the second world, a realm of conflict, where life struggled to distinguish between safety and danger, friend and foe. It is said that in this world, beings learned the consequences of unchecked desire, the peril of imbalance. From there emerged the third world, a place shadowed by moral failure, where choices were weighed and errors multiplied. Each trial, each misstep, was not punishment, but instruction, a shaping of character, a testing of readiness for what lay ahead. Finally, after countless cycles, the fourth world, the glittering world, came into being. It is here, in this radiant realm, that humans dwell today. But the glittering world is not perfect. It is not a paradise. It is a place of responsibility, of balance, of harmony that must be earned and maintained. The worlds are not merely physical spaces. They are moral landscapes, reflections of human action, and the ongoing task of living rightly within the cosmos. Within this intricate tapestry dwell the holy people, or Diné. They are not gods, as one might imagine, seated above mortals on golden thrones. They are forces, sacred and attentive, shaping rain and fire, wind and healing. They walk in and out of human existence through ritual, ceremony, and song, guiding those who know the ways of balance, reminding the living that the world is neither random nor cruel, but delicately ordered. And yet, not all beings are so benevolent. The Navajo also recount the Anaye, monsters born of imbalance and broken taboos. These creatures emerge where respect is absent and rules are ignored. There are eye killers who strike at those who dare to see without understanding. Rock giants, immovable and unyielding, guarding the thresholds of danger. And horned serpents, slithering embodiments of chaos and power, whose very presence reminds humans of the need for caution and harmony. Against these forces rise heroes, born to restore the fragile equilibrium of the world. Nyanesgani, the monster slayer, and Tubatsishkini, born for water, venture into realms of peril, confronting the Anaye not to conquer, but to make life safe again. Their victories are measured not in glory, but in the restoration of balance and the protection of those who dwell in the glittering world. Their courage teaches that heroism is not domination, but responsibility. To maintain harmony, the Din performs sacred ceremonies. The blessing way nurtures life and promotes protection, infusing the human world with balance, health, and clarity. The enemy way purifies those affected by forces beyond their control, ridding body and spirit of contamination from outside threats. Each ritual is an acknowledgement of the principle that shapes all things: beauty, balance, and harmony. To live in is to move through the world with awareness, to respect life and the unseen powers that guide it. In Navajo thought, there is no separation between the seen and the unseen, the living and the spiritual. Stones, rivers, mountains, and clouds carry consciousness. Animals are teachers, allies, and sometimes adversaries. Every being participates in a vast, interwoven web, and to disrupt one thread is to risk unraveling the whole. The mythology teaches that safety does not come from control, but from attentiveness, from ethical action, from the recognition of one's place within the larger order. The glittering world, with all its radiance and challenge, is therefore never taken for granted. Every dawn is an opportunity to reaffirm the connections between people, land, and spirit. Every ceremony, every prayer, every careful action is a stitch in the fragile fabric of life. Monsters remain, unseen and waiting, and even heroes cannot eliminate danger entirely. The work of maintaining Shi is ongoing, a responsibility passed from one generation to the next. In the quiet of a desert night, under a sky heavy with stars, one may feel the presence of these truths, the weight of worlds, the gaze of holy people, the watchful eyes of Anaye. Life is neither random nor eternal. It is fragile, luminous, and contingent upon care. It is a gift and a duty. And so the Din remind us, through story and song, through ritual and remembrance, that harmony is not given, it is chosen. That beauty exists only where balance is preserved. That every being, from the smallest stone to the tallest mountain, plays a role in the ongoing act of creation. Central America, Aztec and Maya mythology. In the lands where the sun rises over jagged mountains and ancient temples pierce the clouds, where the air is thick with the scent of incense and the memory of fire, there existed civilizations whose stories still echo in shadowed corridors of time. These are the myths of the Aztec and the Maya, peoples who saw the world not as a static place, but as a realm shaped by cycles of creation, destruction, and sacrifice. Among the Aztec, central Mexico was more than earth and sky. It was a stage for divine struggle. Their stories, complex and interwoven, are difficult to unravel, for the Aztecs themselves combined multiple traditions, merging memory and ritual into one vast tapestry of belief. One of their most haunting creation myths is the legend of the 5 suns. Here, the world is not eternal, nor is it permanent. It has been born and destroyed 4 times before the present age. Each age ended in catastrophe, storms, fire, floods, and earthquakes, sweeping the world clean. The Aztecs believed that sacrifice was not cruelty but necessity. The gods themselves, it was thought, gave of their own essence so that the world could exist. Life, in this worldview, is fragile and contingent upon the offerings of divine beings. The cosmos is not passive. It is alive, hungry, insistent. Without ritual, without blood and devotion, the world risks collapse, as the stories warn. Within this complex universe dwell many deities, each commanding an element or force. Tlaloc, god of lightning and thunder, governs storms and the fertility of the earth. Chalkihutlikyu, goddess of waters and rivers, nurtures life and guides the currents of human fate. Shutakutli, god of fire and time, is both eternal and temporal, a flame that measures the passage of existence. Ehekati, god of wind, moves unseen, yet shapes destinies, carrying both breath and warning. Metzli, goddess of the moon, watches in quiet darkness, reflecting light and shadow upon the world. The Aztecs also revered the forces of death, of the underworld, and of fertility, weaving them into their understanding of life and decay. Among their darker tales is the story of the stinking corpse, a myth that lingers in memory like a pungent, forbidden air. It tells of a giant slain and left to rot, whose corpse released a stench so vile it would kill any who approached. It is a tale of mortality, danger, and the inescapable consequences of defiance, a reminder that the world is neither merciful nor forgiving. These stories, though distant, remain alive in popular culture, their shadows flickering in films, shows, and games, carrying the eerie resonance of civilizations long vanished. Farther south, in the dense jungles of southeastern Mexico and northern Central America, the Maya carved another vision of existence, equally complex but different in its focus. Here, myths reach as far back as the 16th century, preserving the oldest known tales of creation in the Americas. The Maya saw the world as a web of interconnections, the heavens, the earth, and the underworld all entwined. Natural phenomena, the sun, planets, stars, rivers, mountains, and forests, were not mere objects, but living signs of divine will. Each creature, each landscape bore meaning, and their origins were as much spiritual as they were material. Among the most famous of Mayan stories are the exploits of the hero twins, whose adventures are entwined with the creation of the world itself. They faced a bird demon, deities of disease, and rulers of death, defeating them not through brute force alone, but through cunning, ritual, and knowledge of sacred patterns. Their triumphs symbolize the restoration of order from chaos, the delicate balance between life and death, and the continuation of creation through human and divine cooperation. The Maya also emphasized the intimate relationship between humans and the earth. Creation is described as a form of marriage with the earth, an act that sometimes produces the sun and moon themselves. In this mythology, humans, gods, and celestial bodies are not separate. They are participants in a grand, magical, and divinatory design. The gods of the Maya are also diviners, reading the hidden patterns of life and guiding mortals with insight and warning. Heaven, underworld, fertility, death, and the elements all interweave, reflecting a cosmos that is orderly yet unpredictable, beautiful yet dangerous. Both Aztec and Mayan myths speak to cycles, to repetition and renewal. For the Aztecs, the destruction of each sun is a reminder that existence is temporary, that catastrophe is inevitable without vigilance. For the Maya, the emergence through worlds reflects moral and spiritual growth, the slow unfolding of consciousness within a structured cosmos. Both emphasize the sacred, the unseen, and the power of ritual to maintain harmony. Life is sustained not by dominance, but by respect, knowledge, and the careful performance of ceremonial duty. In these myths, monsters are never mere fiction. They are manifestations of imbalance and human transgression. The Aztec speak of stinking giants, while the Maya recount the bird demon and rulers of sickness and death. Heroes rise to confront them, not for glory, but to restore order, to make the world safe enough for life to continue. These figures embody the delicate equilibrium between mortality and divinity, between chaos and order. Sacrifice, ritual, and the observation of celestial and earthly cycles thread through every story. To ignore them is to invite disaster. To participate is to align oneself with the rhythm of the cosmos. Smoke from sacred fires, offerings of maize and blood, and the careful reading of omens are not mere tradition. They are acts of survival, gestures of recognition toward powers that are immense, inscrutable, and eternal. In the shadows of pyramids and temples, the echoes of these myths remain. You can feel them in the wind that sweeps across the plateau, in the flickering torchlight of ruins, in the trembling earth beneath footsteps where ancient ceremonies were once performed. They speak of creation and destruction, of gods who live in fire, water, wind, and stone. They speak of humans who must navigate a world at once beautiful and perilous, who must honor life and death, light and shadow in equal measure. And though centuries have passed, though empires have fallen to dust and forest has reclaimed stone, the myths endure. They are preserved in ritual, in oral story, in memory. The Aztec and Maya remind us that existence is fragile, sacred, and intertwined with forces beyond comprehension. The world is not static. It demands attention. It demands respect. It watches silently, always, and those who fail to heed its rhythms may discover that the line between life and catastrophe is perilously thin. South American, Inca mythology. High in the Andes, where the mountains rise like the spines of ancient beasts and the clouds cling to jagged peaks, as if fearful to descend, the Incas looked to the heavens with reverence and fear. The sky was not empty. It was a living, breathing map, its stars and constellations guiding the rhythms of life, dictating the seasons, the planting of crops, and the flow of rivers. From the capital of Cusco, the Milky Way stretched across the night like a luminous path, a cosmic river linking earth and sky, the mortal and the divine. At the heart of their myths stands Manco Capac, founder of the Inca civilization. Yet even his story is shadowed by contradiction. Some say he was the son of Viracocha, the great creator god, rising to lead his people with divine authority. Others whisper that he emerged from the depths of Lake Titicaca, brought forth by Inti, the radiant sun god, sent to illuminate the world with light and law. In both versions, his origins are intertwined with mystery, and his deeds ripple through history like echoes of a half-remembered dream. The Incas did not see their gods as distant abstractions. They were present in every stone, river, and mountain. Apu, the spirit of the mountains, watched silently, guardians of both earth and human endeavor. Cataquil, god of thunder and lightning, roared across the peaks, his fury shaping the storms. Kon, god of rain and wind, whispered through valleys, balancing fertility and destruction. Even death had its keeper in Supay, whose shadow haunted caves and tombs, reminding the living that life is fleeting and fragile. Geography itself was sacred. Mountains, rivers, lakes, and valleys were not merely landscapes, but portals, thresholds, and reminders of the world's layered nature. The Incas conceived of existence as three levels of Pachas: the lower world, the earthly world, and the heavens, each inhabited by spirits, each interdependent, each requiring vigilance and respect. To disregard one was to invite imbalance, misfortune, or death. Animals held a similar significance. Dogs guided souls in the afterlife. Bears and foxes carried messages, omens, and lessons. No creature was trivial. Each was a participant in the sacred order, a reminder that the natural world is imbued with power and that humans exist not above it, but within it. In Inca mythology, time was not linear but cyclical, measured in the movement of the stars and the turning of seasons. Agriculture was both practical and divine, each planting and harvest a negotiation with unseen forces, each ceremony a bridge between human effort and cosmic will. The Incas knew that survival demanded attentiveness, that the rhythm of the heavens is both guide and judge. Even now, In the shadowed ruins of Machu Picchu, one can feel the presence of these myths, the silent watch of mountains, the faint whisper of wind over terraces, the light of the sun tracing sacred paths through stone. The Inca believed that the world is alive, that the cosmos speaks, and that harmony must be maintained not only through ritual, but through humility, awareness, and reverence. In this ancient worldview, life is fragile, the sacred omnipresent, and the heavens themselves a dark, ordered mirror of existence. To walk the Andes is to walk within myth, where the mountains breathe, the stars observe, and every shadow may hide a whisper from the gods. What would it mean to truly walk in the footsteps of these myths, to see the world as alive with spirits, monsters, and sacred forces? If creation and balance are born from sacrifice, what responsibility do we carry in the life around us? And finally, are we listening closely enough to the whispers of the world? Or have we forgotten how to hear? If these stories stir something within you, if the whispers of ancient worlds call to your imagination, join us on this journey. Subscribe and step further into the shadows of myth, where every wind, mountain, and star has a story to tell.